Hi, and welcome to Fairview Range Focus. I'm David Hall, and I'm with Fairview Range here in Hibbing. During these monthly programs, we like to focus on talking about health topics and topics that relate to your personal health as well as the health of our community. Today we've got a great subject I think you'll find of interest. Today I'm visiting with Mitch Vincent, who is the Vice President of Organizational Support for Fairview Range, and also is the founder and board chair of the Kids Care Fund and the Red Ore Run, which I think probably a lot of people have heard about, but we're going to hear a lot more about it today. So welcome, Mitch. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you, David.
So let's start with the Red Ore Run. Tell me about that. How did that begin? Where did that idea come from?
Actually, was conversing with my wife on a trip to Duluth in the winter time, and we're talking about her running and how she got started running, and she had started running a couple years earlier with her running partner, Jerry Ann Gabardi, as they were visiting after they dropped the kids off for skating practice. They would take walks, and eventually they started running, and they started out kind of slowly, a couple blocks at a time, and built up over time. Anyway, we were talking about that and some of the races that she had coming up, and I had started running in the meantime as well, and we started talking about having a run in Hibbing and why we hadn't had a run in Hibbing in quite some time.
Right.
And so we just started naming off people that might be interested in helping put on a run. It went from there, and talking with Steve Davidson and Nancy Hyduke from Fairview Range, who I knew were runners. I'd seen them at various races. And then other folks in the community, Kelly Grinsteiner, Dr. Jay Hildebrand, I knew also was a runner. And so we just called a meeting and said, you know, here's kind of the vision. Would you guys be willing to help out? Dan Poehler as well, who was retired track coach. He was involved in the committee, the initial committee. So we just got together and said, here's what we want to do. We want to put on a high quality local run, keep it local, but make it a quality run. Do chip timing and have nice giveaways, have a nice shirt to give away, and it just kind of evolved from there.
Okay. So we were talking earlier before we started, and you mentioned about that there hasn't been a run in the community for quite a while.
Right.
And maybe you could describe that a little bit?
Well, previous to the Red Ore Run, to my knowledge, the last run in Hibbing was the First Avenue Mile and variations of the First Avenue Mile, which got to be a pretty competitive run in Hibbing in the 80s and 90s, and then I think just kind of dwindled, participation dwindled. It became more of a fun run. And one of the things, again, that we tried to focus on was have a fun run, but have a high quality fun run. Be the best town run around. And we knew that Nashwauk-Keewatin during the 4th of July festivities, they have a run. It's a Nashwauk to Keewatin run. I forget the exact name of it, but and every town seemed to have a run.
Yeah.
You know, every town has their little town run that they do. And then with being so close to a really a nationally renowned run like Grandma's Marathon and the Gary Bjorklund Half Marathon, why don't we have a run, and what's stopping us? So again, putting the right people in the room to help get that kicked off and started was kind of the key thing. People that would be willing to invest, people that were known as runners in the community that would invest their time and talent and help get this thing going.
Yeah, great. So this is the second year, correct?
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
You mentioned something else that not everyone may be aware of, and I just learned about it last year. You said chip timers.
Yeah.
What is that? What is that for?
Well, at runs that have higher participation, that we had gone to have little chip timers about the size of a quarter, and it interlaces on your shoe, and when you cross the start line, the computer starts your particular chip timer, and when you finish, it ends. So it's all computerized, and when you finish, actually with this particular chip timer that we use, MTech Results, and it's actually the Grandma's Marathon timer. They do the timing for them, so they're well known in the racing community as doing a high quality job. They'll send you an email or a text message to the phone or the email address that you enter. So
Oh, wow.
as soon as you get done, within a couple minutes, your official time is emailed or texted to you. So
To the actual runner.
yeah, right to
Wow.
the runner. Yeah.
That's
So
pretty cool.
at Grandma's Marathon, I'll be walking around after you get your belongings and get your phone, and up pops a message. Here's your official time.
Wow.
All kinds of information about how you did for the first half compared to the second half and those kinds of things.
Okay. So that, you kind of commented on it, but it sounds like that's kind of a standard for the higher quality runs, and people are kind of expecting that.
Yeah, absolutely. People are used to that and seeing that. Some of the smaller runs, you'll see the clock when you cross,
Yep.
and you'll see the clock when you finish, and you kind of track your own time.
Okay.
But we wanted, again, when we set out as kind of the vision of what we wanted to do, and having runners on our committee, we wanted to have a high quality event, and that was one of the requirements that we had set forth when we first began, is that it's going to be chip timed.
Yeah,
We want it officially timed.
Now, I know that's not free. How do you pay for something like that?
We actually we have a chip timer sponsorship, and the Healthy Lifestyles Coalition, now this will be the second year that they have stepped up and sponsored our chip timing. So, and we have a lot of other sponsors that get involved. One of the other part of this was that, and this will get to when we start talking about the Kids Care Fund a little bit, but our whole goal when we set out was to raise enough sponsorship dollars so that every registration fee went directly to our charity, which became the Kids Care Fund, and we can talk about that whenever you want.
Okay. All right.
So we have a lot of sponsors. Healthy Lifestyles Coalition, which is a local group, stepped up and are the chip timer sponsors now for the second year running.
Okay.
So
Great. Now, I understand there's actually more than one run that occurs.
Right.
Maybe you can describe that a little bit for us.
sure. Again, that was one of the things that when we set forth kind of what our standard was going to be, we wanted to be able to have competitive runners run our event, and we also wanted it to be a local community event that anyone could participate in. So we have a 5K walk run, and typically when they line up, the people who know that they're going to walk starting back. So the runners get, the more competitive runners move to the front. But we have a 5K walk run, and then a 10K event, and then for the kids, which is a free event for any kid that is willing to run, they get a shirt as well. It's a 1K. Last year we had a half-mile. This year we kind of narrowed that down to hit a middle distance, so 1K is like a 0.6 miles. So we have one kids event, a 1K, and we had over 100 kids run that event last year. So they get a free shirt, and it's good to get kids out there running, and
Absolutely.
that's what we want to do. So
Good.
promoting that healthy lifestyle.
So is there a limit, or age-wise? I mean, can a 2-year-old run, is there certain brackets as far as an age-wise for the young kids, or?
No bracket. We've had a few 5Kers, 10, 11, 12-year-olds, but most of those kids ran the mile event last year.
Okay.
So there's really no limit. We actually had a dad compete with a jogger stroller and roll his, I forget how old the baby was, but
Okay.
pushed the jogger stroller through the whole 5K.
So theoretically, the baby kind of ran the race too then?
Right, absolutely.
Okay,
Yeah.
good. So from all ages, almost, that's good.
Yeah, baby on up.
Okay.
So.
And I thought, I kind of like the name you had. What was that name?
Taconite Trot is the 1K.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mike Galley from our committee came up with that. So
I see a theme going on here.
Yeah,
Red Ore Run, Taconite Trot.
yeah,
Okay,
absolutely.
Great. How about mission? Can you talk a little bit about mission of the Red Ore Run and what the money that you're raising? And
yeah, again, when we set out the start of the committee, we wanted to have a high-quality event. We wanted to get community involvement. One of our desires was to get some first-time runners. I described my wife Julie and her running partner Jerry Ann. They started 2 blocks at a time. I mean, they're literally we're doing 2 blocks at a time, and got winded and would stop. And so we wanted to try and draw in some first-time runners. But the other part of our mission, and this came through our committee work, was, hey, let's raise some money for a good cause while we're at it. And that cause is the Kids Care Fund, which is under the fiscal guidance umbrella of the Central Mesaba Medical Foundation. I want to give a big thanks to them, because we wouldn't be able to, we'd have had to do a lot more work to get where we're at today if it wasn't for the Central Mesaba Medical Foundation. They were the fiscal agent for us and helped us have money come in and come out, and so big thanks to them and Nina Kangas and that whole group. So
Good.
but the Kids Care Fund is a fund that we set up, again, under the umbrella of Central Mesaba Medical Foundation to help kids with health care needs, help them pay for out-of-pocket medical expenses, similarly set up to how the Angel Fund is set up. Our philosophy is to help a lot of people a little bit, if that makes sense. We knew that we couldn't, do big donations, especially right away. We'll see how this evolves, but we've been doing gifts of $150 in gas cards, Super One cards, also, willing to help out with specific medical bills and things like that. So that is the Kids Care Fund, and I got to give credit to Wyatt Johnson, who came up with our logo. We asked the first graders at Mrs. Simmermansik's Greenhaven Elementary first grade class to help us come up with the logo. Does that work, Tom? Yep. Okay. So that's Wyatt, his work, thanks to Wyatt for that.
And what grade is he in?
He's a first grader
First grade.
at Greenhaven Elementary in Miss Wanda Simmermansik's class.
And that's their official logo for the Kids Care Fund.
That's the official logo, you bet.
That's
Yeah.
great. That's great. Okay, and so that is the ultimate goal as far as the race is great for, personal health and for the health of the community, but money raised is going into the Kids Care Fund.
Right.
So how would somebody go about if they felt like, maybe they might qualify, they need some money for a particular need? What's the process for accessing money?
Sure. We have a very small form. It's called the Kids Care Fund Request for Assistance. It's a one-page document, asks you about 7 or 8 questions. It has some guidelines on the back. You can contact me, and I can help you get a form, 218-362-6803. Also, the committee members, some of them are overlapping from our race committee, but Kelly Grinsteiner, Hibbing Daily Tribune, also Karen Buckhouse at Anytime Fitness, Wanda Simmermansik at Greenhaven Elementary, Mary Warner at the Hibbing High School. And man, am I forgetting somebody? I just wanted to double check here to make sure I'm not.
Sure.
Jim Dieters at First Presbyterian, pastor at First Presbyterian, and myself are the committee members. And all the Hibbing schools have them. We got them to Head Start, AEOA. Some of the daycares have the forms, but again, if you're looking for one place to get a form, give me a call and I can email you one.
Okay. Now you mentioned, gas cards and stuff.
Yep.
Can you give some other example that an individual might feel like, they need some assistance, that might qualify, and besides, gas for their car? Is there other kinds of things?
Sure, we can help with specific medical bills. We don't make checks out to individuals. We'll make them out to the gifts will either be in the form of a gas card or some sort of gift card to a specific entity, or made out to a specific entity, a certain pharmacy, a certain doctor, or a certain clinic. We can help in that way, but we don't give cash, and we don't make checks out to individuals. So.
Okay. So the form is filled out, is it reviewed by the committee or the board then, as far as?
Right, the committee, it's the Kids Care Fund Committee, and it's requires a simple majority, and and we do a lot of things electronically, so
Yeah.
we can get it turned around pretty fast. So
Okay.
we've done it in as little as a couple hours, gotten
Wow.
gas cards in the hands of people. Sometimes it might take a little longer,
Mm-hmm.
but we do turn that around pretty quickly. So, again, trying to make a immediate help to somebody, and again, not in the form of large gifts right now. We're not at that point where we feel that we can do that fiscally, but to help as many people as we can in a small way.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Okay. The money that you raise from the race itself, now
Right.
that obviously is one of the biggest sources for the Kids Care Fund. But do you anticipate there'll be other ways that fund might grow besides the race? Or
Right. Yeah. Right now, that is the only way we raise funds. I envision other ways happening, but the race is the primary source.
Okay.
And again, we have raised, and again this year haven't raised, I believe, enough money so that all registrations, all fees related, your $25 fee when you run the 10K, David, will go directly to the
Excellent.
Kids Care Fund. So again, those fees go directly. Close to $9,000 last year, which we thought was a good start and a good way, good funding for the Kids Care Committee. So again, if we anticipate that will at least equal what we had in paid participation last year for the race, we'll be off to a good start.
Yeah.
And hopefully at some point, we'll be able to do more, but again, right now it's just kind of helping as many people as we can
Right.
in a little way. So.
To me, it's pretty neat. I mean, that as a runner, a person's going to pay, is it $25? So they pay the $25, and so they get a shirt
Mm-hmm.
from the race.
Yep.
But then knowing that all of that money is going to go to the Kids Care Fund,
Right.
because of your sponsorship. Does that
Yeah.
sound right?
Yeah, we've had
that's pretty neat.
very generous sponsors, including Fairview Range, Central Mesaba Medical Foundation, this year the Hibbing Foundation, the Security State Bank Foundation last year and this year, American Bank this year, IRACOR last year. This year we've added also Fortune Bay. Anytime Fitness has been on board both years. There's a lot of good sponsors. You go out to our website, you can see them all. Also our Facebook page. We do have a Facebook page, so you go out to those areas. You can see the list of all our sponsors, many generous sponsorships, and real pleased with the way the community has stepped up to support the run and the Kids Care Fund, because
Yeah.
they are, hand in hand, so to speak. So lots of generous sponsors.
What about private donations? If somebody was listening to this, for example, and said, this is a great cause and they'd like to support it, would you accept private donations?
Yeah, you bet. We absolutely would. And again, you can get in contact with me or ask any one of our race committee members or our Kids Care Fund committee members. And I'll give you the complete list of those folks, read off their names here at the end so that we can give them the credit that they're due, because without the committee, there would be no run.
Right.
So.
Okay. So I know last year you said was your first run.
Yes.
Maybe you can just touch on that as far as how that went last year as far as response, and what are you expecting this year?
Yeah, absolutely. Great response last year. We were really pleased. Going in, we weren't sure what to expect, having not had a run in Hibbing in quite a while, and being a first-year race, it was difficult to predict. But and it gets a little nerve-wracking because lots of people like to sign up at the very end, so we weren't sure where we were going to be at. Anyway, we ended up with close to 400 paid participants,
Wow.
which is the 10K and 5K. I think the actual number was 386, and I know we had well over 100 kids running. We like to think we got close to 500 participants running some sort of race last year. So we were very pleased. Very pleased with that. I think we were kind of thinking 200, 250, somewhere in there. I was hoping for 400, and Andy knows that because I was complaining to her quite a bit. But it just, people want to know that the race is going to happen. They want to see that it's a good quality race, and they tend to sign up late.
Yeah.
And I'm one of those people too that register for races kind of
Yeah.
late. Yeah. So.
So what are you expecting this year? Do you have any estimates or?
I want 600. You know, I want
Okay.
to get to 600. 750 is my ultimate goal, but I think if I hit 600, if the race hits 600 runners at 100 this year, I think that'd be great. I'd like to see 750 to 1,000, but
Wow.
that could be a few years down the road.
Yeah, that's pretty neat. Well, for our first year event, I mean, last year certainly sounds like it was a great success, and seems like those are things that, as they catch on in the communities, they tend to grow. So those numbers don't seem unreasonable at all.
Yeah, we're hoping. We have high hopes. So
good, good. So how about for those of us who our running days are past?
Yeah.
Is there any opportunities to be involved in that? I mean, those are great events. They're a lot of fun. It's great to watch the kids run and others. Is there a way for others to be involved?
You bet, absolutely. We had over 100 volunteers last year, 75 volunteers just to do traffic control and make sure our runners had a safe experience by watching the intersections. So all along the route, every intersection is covered by volunteers, making sure again that cars aren't getting onto the race course and causing problems for runners. So over 75 volunteers there. We also had many other volunteers at the race site doing registration, helping with refreshments. The Hibbing Fire and Paramedic were there, making sure everyone had a safe experience, and they set up, it was rather warm, if you remember, last July, and they set up sprinklers for runners to cool down in. Yeah, we had a tremendous experience. A lot of key volunteers from Fairview. Jim Bymark, David Hall, Andy Masinski, Jess Schuster, Kim Johnson, Tim Farrell, and